There are many side stories or additional counts or additional information on particular topics. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at inheritance, but an inheritance that was promised 40 years ago, and we're going to see the fulfillment of that. And it's always cool seeing God make promises, then later on reading of the conclusion of them. The book of Joshua, chapter 14 and 1. These are the inheritances in the land of Canaan, distributed to the Israelites by Eleazar the priest, Joshua, son of Nun, and the head of the fathers' houses of their tribes. In the previous chapter and in this chapter and the following chapters, we're going to see more about the inheritance. And we have the two representatives here. We have Eleazar the priest, so God's representative through the priesthood. And then we have Joshua, who is the successor of Moses. And they're kind of in charge of these things. They are God's representatives right now during this time. The book of Joshua. 14:2. Their inheritance was by lot, as the Lord commanded Moses, for the 9 1/2 tribes. So when it comes to the inheritance, the system that they are going to use for the distribution is a system of lots, having people draw lots, and God can control the outcome of lots so he can get people where they need to be. But there's also that other meaning of lot, which means bundling or grouping, and as we're going to see, different tribes are going to have different sections of land, and then it gets further subdivided into individual families. And the book of Joshua 14:3. For Moses had given an inheritance to the 2 1/2 tribes beyond the Jordan, but to the Levites he gave no inheritance among them. So we typically have the 12 tribes, and here we see mention of 2 1/2 tribes, and those were the ones that were mentioned in the previous chapter. They are on the eastern side of the Jordan River, and we also have mention of the tribe of Levi that is not going to receive inheritance. The book of Joshua 14:4. For the people of Joseph were 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim, and no part was given in the land to the Levites, except cities in which to live, with their pasture lands for their livestock and for their possessions. So we always see 12 tribes being mentioned, and the way that we are able to get that despite having the Levites excluded is by Joseph having his 2 sons being adopted in. They were adopted by his father. They were adopted by Jacob, also known as Israel. So they became 2 additional tribes. So when it comes to counting tribes, you could count the tribe of Joseph, or you could count his 2 sons, and that allows the massaging of numbers to remain at 12. Even if one of the tribes is missing, well, then you get a backup with one of Joseph's sons. Numbers are very important when it comes to the Bible because there's certain patterns and different systems that way, and it's far more elegant to have everything have its own symbology for those that enjoy digging deeper. So this is something that is definitely convenient that way. The book of Joshua 14:5. As the Lord commanded Moses, so the Israelites did, and they divided the land. 14:6. Then the people of Judah came to Joshua in Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, said to him, You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, concerning me and you in Kadesh Barnea. So Caleb was a very interesting individual. He knew Joshua from a long time ago. He journeyed with Joshua as spies way back in the day when the Israelites first came to the promised land. They sent in the 12 spies, and only Caleb and Joshua returned a good report. Joshua, for his faith, he was the successor to Moses. But Caleb got something different. He got promised this particular parcel of land because he was faithful and trusted in the Lord. He brought back a good report when everyone else were afraid of the giants in the land. The book of Joshua. 14:7. 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to scout out the land, and I brought him a report as it was in my heart. In a previous chapter, we were looking at the age of Joshua, and one of the ways to determine his age would be looking at him in comparison to Caleb, and here is where we see the line of Caleb's age. That he was 40 when they went to the promised land as scouts. Then they wandered the wilderness for 40 years, so he would have been 80, and then they were battling, and it's just a method of telling ages and figuring that Joshua here probably is a similar age to Caleb because they both went in as spies at the same time. A little bit of a back of the napkin mathematics, ballparking it. The book of Joshua. 14:8. But my brethren who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt, yet I wholly followed the Lord my God. 14:9. And Moses swore on that day, surely the land on which your feet have walked shall be an inheritance to you and your children always, because you have wholly followed the Lord my God. So we saw this event transpire in the book of Exodus when they first went to scout out the land. And the result of his giving the good report is that the land that he scouted and walked on would be his inheritance for generations afterwards. Moses made this promise on behalf of the Lord for him. So this is how it was going to be. And now we have Caleb coming to Joshua and Eliezer reminding them of this promise that was made, that this was supposed to be his land or his territory. The book of Joshua. 14:10. And now, behold, the Lord has kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years, since the Lord spoke this word to Moses, while the Israelites wandered in the wilderness. And now, behold, I am this day 85 years old. 14:11. Yet I am as strong today as I was the day Moses sent me, as my strength was then. So is my strength now for war and to go out and to come in. The wilderness wandering was an amazing event, and it seems like many of the amazing things that occurred during it are not written down, or we only get small glimpses of them. Similar to what we saw previously with the clothing, how the clothing never wore out. We see Caleb here, that he was the same as he was 40 years ago, from the beginning of the wilderness wandering to the end of it. He was in good health, he was youthful. This must have been quite the experience. They were wandering the wilderness for 40 years, and during that time he would have saw the young grow up, the old wither and die, all of his friends and family, people that were the same age as him or younger, growing old and dying while he still remained youthful. You would think too that the other people, they would see Caleb and they would be reminded of their own sin by seeing the way that the Lord has preserved him. The wilderness wandering was such an incredible event, and I wish we knew more about the inner workings and the details of some of these things, because it seems like there was tremendous events going on during it. The book of Joshua. 14:12. So now give me this hill country of which the Lord spoke that day, for you heard then how the giant-like Anakim were there, and that the cities were great and fortified. If the Lord will be with me, I shall drive them out, just as the Lord said. It's always great to see a man of faith. And Caleb here is a good example in the Old Testament. He is rock solid in his belief and trust in the Lord. He's ready to receive his inheritance, so he's asking for permission to receive it. And he's aware that the land that he is to inherit is filled with giants. But he believes in the power of the Lord, that the Lord can give him the strength to overcome, to drive these giants out of the land so that he can take possession of it. The book of Joshua 14:13. Then Joshua blessed him and gave Hebron to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, for an inheritance. 14:14. So Hebron became the inheritance of Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, to this day, because he wholly followed the Lord, the God of Israel. 14:15. So the name of Hebron before was Kiriath Arba, city of Arba. This Arba was the greatest of the Anakim, and the land had rest from war. So Caleb received the promise from the Lord. He received this land. And it just so happened that the worst giants, the biggest giants, the most mighty giants, happened to be in that location. So he had to remove them to take possession of it. And the city was renamed, or the land was renamed afterwards. So the location of Hebron is a very important place. Many historical events transpired in this location, from back to the times of Abraham to modern day. It is a very interesting location, and we're going to look more into it in the future, or we're going to see references to it later on.